Militarily Speaking, episode 77, Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
This episode, we talk with Jack Oehm, retired fire department of the City of New York Battalion Commander and current board member of Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Welcome to Militarily Speaking, brought to you by Armed Forces Bank. This is Tom McLean and Jodi Vickery.
Hello.
Hello. I'm the military retail exec for Armed Forces Bank. Jodi, newly announced. I could say that you're sort of in that honeymoon phase, right?
That's what we'll call it.
She's been promoted 3 times in the last 61 days. So she's the chief digital officer. Sounds like much to do about nothing, right, Jack?
Well, it's all about digital now. So
I should just say she'll work for food and it's fine. And she works really hard.
I think she's got a hashtag digital everywhere in her office.
Something like that. Again, welcome to our show. We're really excited to have you listening and learning all about our guest, Jack Oehm and Tunnel to Towers Foundation. I want to tell our audience just a little bit about you, Jack. None of this should be a surprise to you, I hope, unless Tom made it up. Jack is a retired fire department of the City of New York FDNY Battalion Commander and current Tunnel to Towers Foundation board member. Jack first arrived off-duty at Ground Zero after both towers had collapsed on 9/11. The 32-year FDNY veteran recalls one of the saddest memories upon arrival at the scene, hearing the personal alert safety system alarms going off on the firefighter's equipment, which lets you know a firefighter is in distress. For Oehm, it was difficult to hear those alarms and know that firefighters underneath the steel and concrete needed help or that rescuers wouldn't be able to get to them. The rescue crews climbed to the top of the pile and started digging through the rubble by hand before the heavy machinery made its way to the site. When a firefighter or police officer was found, the rescuers called the unit to which they belonged and had them visit the site to identify and help carry out their unit's fallen. One of Ohm's better memories of 9/11 occurred early in the morning on September 12th, when he witnessed a group of firefighters in formation and saluting the rescuers at Ground Zero. These firefighters were from a small town in Tennessee, and when they saw the second tower collapse, they raced to their cars and drove to Manhattan to assist the rescuers in any way they could. Oehm witnessed Americans coming together as one after 9/11. The retired FDNY Battalion Commander personally lost over 20 of his fellow battalion colleagues, and 3 out of the 9 units never came home. Grieving with the widows and their families was one of the hardest things he's ever done as a member of the FDNY. The birth of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was one of the great things that came out of 9/11, he believes. As an ambassador for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, Oehm has traveled across the country to represent the thousands of first responders nationwide in promoting the hard work and dedication they display for their communities. Welcome, Jack. It is an understatement of the millennium to say it is an honor to have you on our show, and I'm grateful that you're here with us. I would love for you to just start by sharing with our audience kind of that big picture view of Tunnel to Towers Foundation, if you would, kind of given the overarching mission. And I'm sure we'll have all sorts of questions as we go.
And more about his story, too.
Yeah, and your personal story. I mean,
the bio does justice to what he went through, but sometimes hearing it right from Jack is different, too.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Tom and Jodi, for having me. It's my pleasure to be here with you and your audience. So this foundation is so near and dear to my heart. Like you said in my bio, I did lose 20 of my men that were in my battalion at the time, but I also lost my whole firehouse where I started my career in 1981 in Midtown Manhattan. That firehouse was wiped out. I got promoted and I went to a firehouse in Brooklyn where that firehouse was wiped out. And then I got promoted again to captain, and thank God I worked in Staten Island for 6 years of my 32 years. And those guys didn't get there in time to die, thank God. And then again promoted and went back to Brooklyn in my battalion as I was an off-duty battalion chief on 9/11. And you know that story, 3 out of 9 units never came back home. So the losses runs deep in my heart. And one of my stories I always tell is the story of Jerry Duffy. He was the firefighter that broke me in. You go through the academy, the fire academy, for 6 weeks of training. Now it's 18 weeks of training. But in 1981, it was only 6 weeks of training. You come out of the academy and you continue your training in a firehouse because now the senior firefighters are teaching you the ropes what to do in a firehouse and what to do at a fire and all the other emergency scenes that we respond to. And Jerry Duffy was a senior guy in my company in Manhattan, and he broke me in on a job. And he unfortunately died on 9/11. He could have been retired 10 years earlier.
Wow.
But he loved the job so much, like so many of our brothers loved this job so much. We never wanted to retire. Jerry could have retired, but he stayed on the job and he died. So I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Jerry. And of course, this foundation, what it does, in the beginning was just to have a great run to retrace Stephen Siller's footsteps through the tunnel, what he did that morning of 9/11. And I'll tell you Stephen's story in a minute. I was a runner back then, in 2002. And I got my guys from my battalion all involved to hold the banners, the faces of the guys we lost that day. And we ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, retracing Stephen's footsteps. So I was hooked on this great foundation from day one. So it's been like I said, near and dear to my heart and part of me for the last 24 years.
I can hear that in your voice. I can hear it in your voice for sure.
Yeah, you're going to talk, and I think we're going to get into that too, about the story of the 1.7 miles, right? And then the recreating the run thereafter. And that's 60, I can't imagine 60 pounds of firefighter gear, right? That he had to haul during that run or walk or...
It's probably a run walk, yes. There's no way he could have ran right through.
Yeah, but he was running into the calamity versus running from it. So that's part of who you are, Jack, because you wanted to be a firefighter since you were 3 years old.
Yep. It's a calling, I think, for most people. I think the military, first responder, nursing, teaching, I think those professions, more so than others, have a calling for people. And I was called to this service, and I loved every minute of it.
So why don't we jump right into Stephen's story then, okay?
Sure. Stephen's story I've been telling for almost 24 years. It still inspires me. I still get the goosebumps when I tell the story. And I'm going to do it. I'm going out to a Rotary meeting tomorrow night in Toms River, New Jersey. And I always start with my presentations with Stephen's story because that's how our foundation got started. Stephen was an off-duty New York City firefighter on the morning of 9/11. He actually worked the night tour of 9/10. He got off that beautiful morning, the beautiful Tuesday morning that was 9/11 before the attacks. And he was on his way home to play golf with his three brothers in Staten Island, our hometown of Staten Island, the morning of 9/11. And Stephen, a remarkable man, was almost on a golf course when he heard about the first plane into the tower. He immediately turned his truck right around, drove back to his Brooklyn-based firehouse. Stephen was a member of Squad Company Number 1, which is an elite rescue unit in the New York City Fire Department. When he got to Squad Company 1's firehouse, they were already on the scene of the World Trade Center attack. So Stephen went into his firehouse, got all his gear, threw his gear into the back of his truck, and drove his truck to the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, which is a tunnel that connects Brooklyn to Manhattan. All the bridges and tunnels were closed that morning for security reasons. So Stephen left his truck right on the highway, put 60 pounds of firefighting gear on his back, and ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. The tunnel itself is 1.7 miles long. Came out of the tunnel onto West Street and ran up West Street, and he joined in the rescue effort into the South Tower that morning to save lives, which he did. Stephen unfortunately died that morning, along with 342 other New York City firefighters, 23 New York City police officers, and 37 Port Authority police officers. Stephen was only 34 years old, married to a beautiful wife, Sally, and the father of 5 small kids himself.
Wow.
Yeah, Stephen's baby was just born. I think the baby was 9 months old when Stephen died.
Oh, wow. Stephen
was the baby of 7. He was a miracle child. His parents were kind of old to have a baby, but he was born 14 years after his closest sibling, which was Frank Siller, our chairman and CEO. So it was really a miracle. But his dad died when Stephen was 8, and his mom wound up dying when Stephen was 10. So Stephen was orphaned by the time he was 10 years old. So Stephen's 3 brothers and his 3 sisters actually raised him since he was 10 years old. So not only did they feel like they lost a brother, they felt like they lost a son. And, his 3 brothers and his 3 sisters created this foundation to honor and remember those 2,977 Americans that were murdered that morning. And in doing so, we've been honoring those people and all the more than 7,000 military men and women that have died since protecting this great country of ours for the last 24 years. And I'm so happy to be a small part of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
So Stephen did that trek by himself after he got out of his truck, right?
After he left his truck on the highway, and there were other, there were fire trucks in the tunnel that couldn't get through.
Because they closed it, right?
Yeah, they closed it. So the traffic was, you can imagine, still in rush hour traffic in New York is no joke. But when there's a disaster like the World Trade Center being hit by 2 planes, you can imagine the traffic, and it was at a standstill. So Stephen made a great choice. I mean, he got there. He had the determination to get there and to help save lives. And he gave up his own life because of that determination.
I think it's just remarkable. I think that determination, that's the perfect word for it, is what's played out through this foundation over the last 24. I mean, determined not to let his legacy be forgotten, not to let the legacy of so many other firefighters and police men and women and Port Authority and just civilian citizens, right, living their lives.
And to give almost financial independence to people that have been affected by this over the years too, with what the foundation does.
Yeah, what a remarkable way to honor that memory. I've watched over the years, just growing up, living life, watching the news sort of from afar, the evolution of T to T and the foundation. I'd love for you to walk us through sort of how that has evolved over time and what has factored into the choices that have caused you to help in different ways over the years, and why that evolution has been so important for the organization.
Sure. So, I mean, like you said, it has been an evolution. In 2002, we had our first run to retrace Stephen's footsteps through that tunnel. 1,500 runners, and I was one of them. And like I said before, I got hooked on a foundation when I found out what they were doing and why they were doing it. And like I said, it wasn't just, it was called Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation at the time, but it wasn't just to honor Stephen. It was there to honor, like I said before, those 2,977 Americans that were murdered that day. So it was a good thing right from the start. And in the beginning, like I said, we were a small grassroots organization. What did we do? We started helping an orphanage in Haiti. We started sending money so they could rebuild this orphanage in Haiti. Because Stephen was an orphan, and we knew how difficult that would be for people. And in Staten Island, we had Stephen's house built. It was with the foundling, New York foundling, which would help. And we don't even call them orphans anymore, right? I don't even know, do they call them orphans anymore? I don't even think so.
I don't know.
Now I'm going to have to find out, Jack. Thanks for putting that.
So
He'll be busy for the rest of the day. Yes.
I need closure. Yeah.
But, we have a house on Staten Island called Stephen's House with the New York foundling, where it took in orphans. It took in teenage kids that had no family. And so this is how we started, because Stephen was an orphan years ago. And, so we knew how important family is in helping. And I think that's one of the things we're lacking now in our society, is that family basis of having a mom, a dad, and somebody to come home to and ask you how your day was, sit down and have a meal with you. So I think family is so important that way. And that's how we just started doing little things like that in our first 6, 7, 8 years of existence. I was still working in the fire departments, so I wasn't a day-to-day volunteer. Frank needed something. I think our golf program, we started a golf program to have a Veterans Day golf outing 14, 15 years ago now. So that came about. I joined that committee. I started getting people involved in playing golf, raising money. We use 3 golf courses now on Staten Island on Veterans Day and have about 600-700 people back to a hotel, a ballroom, and have a nice cocktail and dinner and raise more money for our foundation. But it wasn't until 2009 when Brenda Morocco, another Staten Islander, and this is a coincidence, or if you do believe in a
destiny
or a higher power,
yeah,
for this to happen, Brenda Morocco, a Staten Islander, was the first surviving quadruple amputee from the war in Iraq ever to survive, a fellow Staten Islander. He came home to Walter Reed for months and years, but he was a fellow from Staten Island. And Frank Siller, with his vision and his leadership, said we had to do something for him. We have to take care of one of our own. And that's just what we went down to Walter Reed, and Frank did some research and said, we're going to build our first smart home for Brenda Morocco here in Staten Island. So Frank and our foundation, we galvanized the Staten Island community. We had a barbecue on Columbus Day, and we raised $800,000 to build our first smart home on Staten Island. And little did we know, when we went down to Walter Reed, there was 3 other quadruple amputees that survived. But Brenda Morocco was the first. So we did it for one. We're going to do it for all. And then we had a connection with Walter Reed, and they would tell us, yeah, we got a double amputee. We got a single amputee, but he's blind. We have a guy that's burnt over 85% of his body. Can you help him out? And so that started our smart home program. And now I'm happy to say that we have over 200 smart homes already working and guys living in our smart homes. And this year, we're going to build 60 smart homes all around this great country. So that's a remarkable thing, because these smart homes are costing us anywhere from $600,000 to $1 million, because you know the price of property now, real estate, the price of lumber, the price of materials, the price of labor has all gone incredibly high. So these homes are not cheap, but it's what these guys deserve.
Hey, Jack, where are the 200 homes today?
All over the country, Tom, all over the country. I can, you know what, I don't have a map of them, but I can send you where they're located. A lot of them are located next to Army bases, next to hospitals.
That makes sense.
Because these guys need them.
Yeah.
Need a lot of services, a lot of, even though they might be living in a smart home, they still need medical help, so they want to be close to the VA.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the 60 that you have coming up. Yeah, if you want to,
a lot in 1 year.
If you want to send me current footprint and future footprint, say the website t2t.org, right? t2t.org.
Yep.
t2t.org.
Could be kind of a...
You're challenging me since I'm having difficulty just speaking words today. Apparently it's hard. I've seen specials and news stories where they take you inside the homes before people have moved in, of course. And just
like
some of the things, some of the things that you can do to make those accommodations are just remarkable, just to give them the independence and the freedom to live their life, which is, it's all pretty amazing.
One of my goals, I do homecomings for the smart home program. So I'll go out and MC a smart home. I'll speak on behalf of the foundation, and then we welcome the catastrophically injured service person into the home. So it's a wonderful day, because you get to see the look on the family when they first walk into the home and see how this home will become life-changing for the family.
Yeah. I think your cup of what is your why is probably constantly being filled and overflowing. I would suspect through that.
And you have to believe that the people that are living in smart homes are staying there for the rest of their lives, right?
Hopefully, yes.
That's the plan, anyway.
That's the plan, yes.
Yeah. So, Jack, I'm going to switch gears a little bit about how people can get involved, how people can volunteer or reach out to you too, because you've got a very expansive reach. You built a brand over the last quarter of a century for the foundation. And I won't name drop or anything, but like Mark Wahlberg and Cole Hauser and Dave Portnoy and Travis Tritt and Dennis Quaid and Carrie Underwood, just to name a few, right, have talked about your organization and been on TV talking about the good work that you do. But how are ways that people can get involved, either with their actions or financially? And how would you best encourage interested citizens, as we say, to reach out and engage with your organization at a local grassroots level? Because you're not just about ground zero. You're hitting the whole U.S. and the whole globe with what you're doing. But what are ways that people can, if they want to go to the website, or if they want to say, how can I help? What can I do? What do you recommend?
Sure. So, I sit on 3-4 not-for-profit board of directors. And we always talk about time, talent, treasure. So everybody has something they can give. Some people have all three. Some people can only give their time. Some people can only give their talent. And some people can only give their treasure. And some lucky people have all three to give. So whatever you have to give, there's a way for you to help our foundation. Okay, whether it be we have 160 golf outings all over the country. We have 80 runs, 5K run, walk, and stair climbs all over the country. We have cornhole tournaments. We have bocce tournaments. We have pickleball tournaments. We have tennis tournaments, cocktail parties, dinner, anything you can imagine. If you have a love of doing something, you can raise money for this foundation, or simply go on our website and donate $11 a month. That's our big draw. We have about 600,000 Americans every month giving us $11 a month. So that's a wonderful, easy way, in my eyes. Of course, $11, especially in New York, will buy you one glass of wine, maybe.
I thought you were going to say water.
No, I think it was 3 ounces of water. Wasn't it? Yeah.
So, it's not, in my opinion, it's not a lot to ask, and you can feel good about yourself at the end of the day by giving of your time, talent, or your treasure. And I always said, when you give, you get. And one of my daughters, another daughter, went to Boston College, and she was trained well. I have to say all my kids were educated well. But she said, I forget what was it, Augustinians up in Boston? No, that's in Villanova. I think she had the Jesuits up in Boston College. And they always said, when one gives, two receive. So think about that. When you give of yourself, not only are you helping the person you're giving to, you're helping yourself. And that, I think, is in my estimation, in my 67 years of life, is the key to life. Because we think that by buying things for ourselves, we're going to feel better. But it's when you give of yourself, that's really when you feel better. And Frank Siller says it another way. He says, when you're feeling bad and you're having a bad day, go help somebody. You'll see how good you feel at the end of the day. And that's basically the secret to life, is to help each other. And that's what this foundation does. We help our first responders, we help our military, and we give people, ordinary citizens, an outlet, a way that they can help other people.
He should be like an ambassador for T2T, don't you think? So, yeah. Speaking of quotes, I had to pull up the one that I love too about giving. It's by Helen Walton.
Hey everyone, we've got something special for our military listeners today.
Absolutely. If you're in the market for a new home, you've got to check out Armed Forces Bank's VA loans. They're designed specifically for you, with competitive rates, no PMI, and no down payment required. And as an approved VA lender with VA certified underwriters, all decisioning is done in-house, which creates a more streamlined experience for veterans.
At Armed Forces Bank, about 75% of our team is affiliated with the military, so we know what it's like to serve. We've been supporting military families for over 100 years, so we've got your back every step of the way.
Whether you're active duty, a veteran, or a reservist, we are here to make your home buying process smooth and stress-free. And with our mortgage service guarantee, we'll close your loan on time or pay you $1,000.
So if you're ready to move into your dream home, head over to afbank.com or visit a branch near you. Armed Forces Bank, serving those who serve.
Equal housing lender, member FDIC, subject to credit approval. VA funding fee may apply. VA loan qualification guidelines apply. Third-party closing costs apply. Owner-occupied property only. Speaking of quotes, I had to pull up the one that I love too about giving. It's by Helen Walton, Sam Walton's wife, founder of Walmart. It's not what you gather in life, but what you scatter in life that tells what kind of life you have lived.
That's a good one, Mr. McLean.
That's beautiful.
I'm pretty good like that. I still haven't found out the orphan thing yet, but
You have something to do later today.
I know, that was a great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I mean, it's good. It's very good perspective.
I'm using that one, the one gives, two receive, though. Yeah. I heard him say that on one of his interviews when Jack did that.
Yes, I use that one, and I have to, on that interview, and I think that was the Marist University one.
Yeah.
But I didn't give credit to my daughter, but I did tell her, and I said, and she forgot, she told me that, because I was doing a big, I had to go to Carpet One convention. Carpet One is one of our corporate sponsors. They're great. They actually come into all our smart homes, and they'll lay down the flooring, the carpeting, the tile, and they do all that for free. So they invited me to speak at one of the national convention, 800 people, and they wanted me to speak for about 20, 30 minutes. So I'm practicing my talk in front of Kelly, my baby daughter, who's now 31 years old.
Yeah. She's still a baby, though.
Yeah, she's still a baby. She said, "Dad, don't say when one gives, when you give, you get." It sounds like a fireman, right? I said, Kelly, that's what I was for 32 years. That's how I speak.
From New York. Yeah.
That's how we talk, all right? You got a problem with that?
Yeah. You talking to me?
She said, "Say it this way." And I'll never forget. And then I tell her, I said, I use your quote. Your dad didn't forget you told me that. So
that's awesome.
I give her credit.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you've shared a couple, I think, today already, certainly Stephen's story. And, I wonder if...
And Jerry Duffy's story,
Jerry Duffy's story, yes, for sure. I wonder if as you think about all of the different families that you've helped, and since you're there at all of these homecoming ceremonies, is there a family that is always sort of top of mind for you, or a story that you could relate, as appropriate, of course, with our audience, where, if you think about your why, it's sort of the first visual that comes to mind?
So I have to say, and I'm not going to use any names, but I am more attached to when a firefighter dies, that family, because we had 20 widows in our battalion to deal with. And one of the things that the fire department did great was, and not to assign it, but make sure that every widow in the New York City Fire Department had a person they could call, was liaison, that they could call if they need anything. So one of my lieutenants, Joe Gullickson, and I could say his name because I have permission from the widow, because we became very close. Naomi Gullickson was Joe's widow. Joe was a good friend of mine. He died on 9/11 in my firehouse. And Naomi had two small kids at the time. She had a 3-year-old daughter and a 1.5-year-old daughter. And I was her liaison. I actually did Joe's eulogy when we did a memorial service for him, because we never found his body. But I've been taking Naomi down to the site on 9/11 every year for the past 23, almost 24 years now. And I tell her every year, I said, as long as you want or need me to take you, I am here for you as long as I am able. And just knowing that she has me for as long as she needs me is comforting to her. And I think most of the guys that took care of the widows feel the same way, and we have that relationship. So when I do a homecoming or a ribbon cutting for a firefighter's widow, that moves me the most and makes me, satisfied that we are helping, people close to my, my family, my second family, which is the Fire Department of New York. So.
No, I appreciate you sharing that story.
So we've enjoyed Marianne's with us today, and we've enjoyed Marianne. Tom has been great, McDonough, helping us as we navigate our way through a fundraiser that we're doing out in Colorado Springs on June 20th. I'll mention that date again. I should still mention T2T.org, but we are you've got a great golf series program. You mentioned, Jack, there's 160 golf outings. There's 80, 5K, there's cornhole, tennis, pickleball, you name it. There's a whole plethora of events that you support that are great fundraisers around the country. But talk about other programs, or talk about things that are available through the foundation that are coming up. I know that if you go to your website now, it says the Climb New York City is sold out.
Yes, I do that every year.
June 1st. What is it?
It's we climb up 104 stories of the World Trade Center.
Oh,
On the inside or outside?
Inside.
On the stairs, Tom.
Wow.
On the staircases.
So it'd be like Spider-Man. Yeah.
104 stories, Tom.
Wow.
I can barely make it 2 stories in the parking garage to get to my car at night.
And we're taking a quick break. Yeah.
It's stair climbs. I do a couple of stair climbs throughout the city. I've been to Boston, Philadelphia to do stair climbs.
Wow.
One Penn on March 22nd. It's a 55-story stair climb. So climbing stairs is probably the hardest workout you'll ever do in your life.
Yeah. What's
I will take your word for it.
like the one, Jack or Marianne, the one on June 1st, what's the capacity? Why is it sold out? Is it just
We can only have 1,000 climbers
okay?
because we have to be out of there by 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm considered, and I'm getting older and my knees hurt more, but I'm considered an elite climber. So the elite climbers go off at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're done within 15 to 24 minutes.
Okay.
And then,
That's
and
ultimate.
then the regular people come up and climb. So we have to be done by 9 o'clock is the bottom line. So they can open up the tower to all the visitors and all the tourists.
15 or 20 minutes for 104. You said 104 stories?
104 stories, yeah.
Jack, remind me, the first tower was it 853?
846, the north tower got hit.
Yeah.
903, the south tower got hit.
Which kind of makes it, when you do those steps, that's the climbs right around that time frame, it has even deeper meaning, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, just climbing up, just thinking, and it's a thought I always think about, what went through those firefighters' heads when they saw these people streaming down the stairs and they're walking up, probably knowing that this might be their last call.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to think of it. We never said, 32 years, I never thought once about dying in the line of duty. I think those guys had to think about it.
Yeah.
They were going into the unknown. That was unheard of what these terrorists did to us that day. To attack a civilian target and to try and kill civilians, we can never forget what they did.
I was just going to use those same 2 words too, right? Without organizations like T2T, we will never forget. So let's be reminded, good or bad, because there's good that came out of it.
And Tom, if I could, I before we go, I know I don't know if you're running out of time, but
We have another 3.5 hours. We're okay.
of the foundation. And, we got to the smart home program, but in 2014, we had 2 New York City police officers sitting in their patrol car in Brooklyn. A gunman came up to the car and shot through the windows and assassinated those 2 police officers.
I remember that.
And myself and Tom McDonough were working in the foundation at the time for Hurricane Sandy relief. And Frank Siller came running out of the office. I'll never forget it. He said, 2 cops were just assassinated. We have to do something for them. And we, with Mayor Giuliani, did a press conference. And in 3 weeks, it was early December when they got shot. And in 3 weeks, we had enough money to pay off those 2 cops' mortgages for their families. And that started our Fallen First Responder program. And that's how we started paying off mortgages for police officers, firefighters, and EMS workers that die in the line of duty with young children.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. I can't believe that was 2014.
In 2018, we started our Gold Star Family program. You folks being in the military, you know what a Gold Star family is.
Yeah.
We started paying off Gold Star families' mortgages. And of course, in January of 2022, we started our newest, most expensive program to eradicate homelessness amongst our veteran population. And so that's our program that's going to cost us upwards of $8 to $10 billion.
Is there an official name for that program?
Homeless Veteran Program. That's what we call it.
Okay.
Yep. And that's on our website too, if you need more information.
It does seem like you are evolving. And I even know there's a couple folks out in Colorado Springs where they are living in homes that were paid by T2T, their mortgages. So
yes, I think I went out to, I did, what's his name? Israel Torres's home in Colorado Springs. I did his homecoming. In fact, they made a commercial. It was on Fox News. I had a speaking part. I'm usually in the background of some of the commercials. This time they actually gave me a speaking part. I had my New York City Fire Department uniform on. And I guess I sounded good that day, and it put me. I had a 20-second spot. Actually speaking.
So now you're an actor too.
Yeah, I've been an actor for 67 years, Tom.
I think I'm the
you're
same
qualified.
guy.
Yes, I think you might as well be, Tom.
Yeah.
Speaking your love language. We've mentioned the website a couple of times, and I don't think we could say it too frequently.
T2T.org.
So T2T.org. There's links on the site to learn about the overall impact of T2T over the years and about the evolution and the stories. We've talked about a lot of, I think, powerful ways in terms of how you've quantified the impact. You know, you've built 200 smart homes. We've got 60 more coming this year. The price of those, I think, you know, when I
600.
When I do that math in my head, you guys are working hard to raise. That's a lot of money you have to raise to fulfill that mission and to do it well the way that you do. Are there any other facts or data points that you think would be helpful for our audience to know as they make choices about how they can best support you?
No, I mean, if they want to be a specific donation to a specific program, that could be just sent in a letter with their check and say, I want to help build a smart home, or I want to pay off a firefighter's mortgage for the family. Something like that, that's more than welcome. A lot of times, people that know a smart home or mortgage payoff is happening in their area, they want to make sure that their money goes to that person, or maybe somebody in their neighborhood that they knew, and they want to make sure they have some kind of impact with that person. So that
makes sense.
Easily done with their check.
Okay.
We're going to be wrapping this up, but we're going to play a little game with you. But one final question for you is, I think I know the answer to this. What's a typical day look like for Jack Oehm? I mean, there's not 25 hours in a day, so we can't go down that path. But it
probably gets more out of his days than we do.
But I bet your speaking engagements are plenty, right?
Sure.
How many do you have a year?
I would say anywhere from, well, I mean, if you count, I also do 9/11 tours of the 9/11 Museum and Memorial in New York. So just in December alone, I did 8 of those.
Wow.
So, and every month fluctuates because we raise money by raffling off tours of the 9/11 Museum. You know, usually if I can't make it, there's another captain or battalion chief that I get to fill in for my spot. But I would say, 60, 70, 80 times a year I'm speaking. I'm flying down to Vero Beach in April. I'm flying out to Pittsburgh in May. And these are I'm just doing PowerPoint presentations on 9/11 and speaking on behalf of the foundation. And then there's one tomorrow night, I'm speaking for 20 minutes in front of a Rotary Club. So, they vary. A typical day, I'm German. I don't know if you could tell, disciplined in my approach to how I live my life. I get up at 5 o'clock every morning. I work out for 2 hours. If I come to the foundation, I'm here by 8 o'clock in the morning, and I start my day. If I'm traveling, I do the same thing. If I have to be at a golf outing at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm at the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning just so I can get my workout in. So I love to work out. I got hurt a few times. I had to retire from the fire department, a job that I would never want to retire from. And I had to retire. But, I always worked out. It was always part of me. And, a day without 800 push-ups is a bad day.
I'm having a lot of bad days then. I might need you to just start texting me at 5 to say, yep,
so are you
it's time, get up.
You're at the gym every morning?
Well, I used to, before COVID, I was at the gym. Now it's in my basement. And if I feel real motivated, I go and do the Stairmaster at the gym a couple of times a week. Yeah.
I think his days.
It's a habit. Once you get into that habit,
I know.
If I don't wake up at 5, I feel like a lazy person.
Yeah.
Once in a while, don't get me wrong, I have a lazy day once in a while. More than that.
I know there's only one Jack Oehm, but how many Jack Oehms are there at T2T? How many are there?
There's a lot of Jack Oehms here. Anybody that works here, you're not working here for the money. You're working here because you have passion for the foundation, for what we do, for the people we take care of. So, I think there's a lot of people out there like me that work here at the foundation.
They have to have that in their DNA. So here's another quote you can use so that you can give me credit.
Sure.
And your daughter won't be mad at you anymore. But if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
100%.
Right? You've heard that before, maybe? Something to that iteration of that? Yeah.
And the fire department is example number one.
It has to be, right?
When the bell rang, we were excited to go out the door to help somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to go out and speak. It's not the same. It's not the same adrenaline rush. It's not the same excitement, but it is a rush going out and speaking on behalf of the foundation. Yeah. So it's not as good as going to a fire and helping somebody and saving a life, but it's probably the next best thing that you could do.
We should all be so lucky to find that kind of passion.
Yes.
Yes, for sure. Before we wrap up, and Tom's already foreshadowed the super fun game we're going to play.
You might know the answer to the question.
Yeah. Well, you might change your mind.
Yeah. You can wait, Jack.
Is there anything else at all, though, that you'd want to share about the foundation before we shift into the military minute? I want to, are there things that we might have not even thought to ask that you'd want to make sure our audience heard today?
So talking about the evolution, which we did, and seeing it grow from a tiny grassroots, really mom and pop, was Frank Siller and Secretary Terry Malhuski, who's still here with us. It was only those two in the beginning. And to see it grow to over 300 employees, and to see what we did in 2002 to what we're doing now in 2025.
Amazing.
It's amazing, right? So if you're ever out there and you want to solve a problem, but it might be too big for you now, solve a smaller problem at first. And things have a way of growing and becoming bigger and bigger and better. And I think that's a perfect example of what this foundation did.
I think so. There's a lot of nuggets of life lessons in this podcast today.
We should invite him to do some sort of morning huddle for us, just to motivate and inspire us.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't include 104 flights of stairs.
Push-ups. No push-ups.
No 800 push-ups.
No 800 push-ups.
Yeah.
One-handed push-ups.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No. I think that's well said. And so now it is time. We're not going to delay it anymore because I know you're very, very excited to play the military minute. This is, we'll say, an endearing little trivia game that Tom and I rather like. On our last episode, we had someone from Excelsior University, and so we had a two-part question.
Jack, have you heard of Excelsior University?
Oh, yeah, it's their new...
It's up in your neck of the woods,
right?
Yeah.
New York, right?
Yeah. Yep. Our guest, so in honor of our guest, we had a two-part question. We don't often do a twofer, but we did. And so the questions were, in what year did Excelsior College change to Excelsior University? And the second part was, what does Excelsior mean in Latin? So, I mean, that might not be a fact everybody carries around in their head. So I'm going to just assume, because I didn't even know until I read this, that we might not know the answers to these. So for our audience that played along when our last podcast dropped, if you answered that Excelsior College changed to Excelsior University in 2022, and that Excelsior in Latin means ever upwards, well, good for you. You watch for your name. Feel smart.
Good for Google.
Feel good for you and Google. Yeah. Watch for your name to be posted as our lucky winner of $50 for you and $50 to a charity of your choice. You might choose to give all 100 here to T2T on t2t.org. But today's military minute, you can't answer this one because I'm pretty sure you would. If you don't know this, then we got a different problem.
He might know it.
He's going to know this. But this one's for our audience. This week's military minute is actually a question about Jack. Jack was a student athlete at what university and in what sport did he participate? Enter the Jeopardy music, right? So if
Jack
you know,
Jack knows.
I know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So watch for this podcast to drop, and when it does, if you know the answer or you can find the answer, give us your best guess, and you too could be a lucky winner of $50 for you and $50 for a charity of your choice.
I think if they listened throughout the podcast,
They probably would pick up on some clues.
they could have gotten the two answers.
So hit rewind and listen again.
It's another two-parter too, wasn't it?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Thank you for joining us today, Jack.
My pleasure.
If you enjoyed today's episode, go out to afbank.com and subscribe to the show. Also, make sure to rate us, leave us a comment on your favorite podcast platform, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. I expected nothing less than spectacular from Jack.
This was wonderful.
It was awesome.
It was very wonderful to meet you, and I appreciate you sharing your story and the story of those you've touched and that of the organization today.
My pleasure, folks. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to hearing this podcast and making fun of myself.
Copyright Armed Forces Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. All non-Armed Forces Bank owned apps, websites, company names, and product names are trademarks or registered trademarks of their respective owners. Their mention does not imply any affiliation with or endorsement by Armed Forces Bank of them or their products and services. They are merely used as examples of the many available apps, companies, and websites that offer similar services. Before using any app or website, you should carefully review the terms of use, data collection, and privacy policy. Apps may have an initial cost or in-application purchase features. This information is general in nature and is not intended to be legal, tax, or financial advice. Although Armed Forces Bank believes this information to be accurate, it cannot ensure that it could change. Statements or opinions of individuals referenced herein are their own, not Armed Forces Bank. Consult an appropriate professional concerning your specific situation and respective governing bodies for applicable laws, such as IRS.gov for current tax law. Armed Forces Bank, the Armed Forces Bank logo, and the Militarily Speaking logo are registered trademarks of Armed Forces Bank.